In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the transmission input speed sensor on this Honda Civic. It's located on the back of the transmission. We do have to remove the airbox for this, so let's get started. Unplug the mass airflow sensor, press on that tab and pull the connector back, and the harness runs through this plastic retainer that you have a couple clips to pry on in order to remove it, and then you can just flip it up and over. Now there are some metal tabs all around the air filter box that you have to pry out. Once you pop them free, the top should come right up and out. There it is. Set that aside. Remove the air filter. It's a great time to inspect it and replace it if needed. This one looks all right. Now we have to remove the bottom of the air box. Now there are two 10mm bolts holding this air box in. One right here. This stays in here. And one all the way in the back right there. You might need a swivel if you're doing this with a power tool. And by hand, regardless, it's quite a tight fit. Once again, that one also stays in there. If you look past the air filter housing, you'll see this clamp that holds the throttle body snorkel adapter piece onto the air filter housing. That's a 5.5mm screw here, or a Phillips head, but I prefer to use the 5.5 because it grips a lot better. Loosen this up. You don't have to remove it or anything, you just have to loosen it. Right besides the top of the snorkel here, there's a clamp holding on a line. Push that clamp back. We're going to have to pull that line out. Sprayed it with a little bit of rust penetrant, and hopefully that allows me to slide it in and out a little easier, so I can push it out of here. Oh, all right. There's a little pin right here with a rubber bushing that is quite stuck because it's rusty, so I'm going to spray it down with a little bit of rust penetrant. That hopefully will allow it to slide off and work it back and forth a little bit. Now pull up on the bottom half of the air filter housing. There we go. It's still connected with this snorkel there, and then there's one right here at the front. Gently pry it away if it's stuck. There's no clamp on this, it's just a press fit. There we go. Just twist it clockwise if you're looking at it and pull it straight out. Now with the airbox removed, you can go right through here on the back of the transmission. You'll see the input speed sensor. This is not to be confused with this one, which is the output speed sensor. Unplug the electrical connector by pressing on this tab and wiggling it, pulling it backwards. Then use a 10mm socket to unbolt the bolt that holds it on. Once you take that out, you should be able to wiggle the sensor. It might be fairly stuck in here, and also if it has a lot of debris around it, wipe the debris off or blow it with compressed air so you don't introduce any debris inside the transmission. I'm going to take some pliers and just try to wiggle this back and forth. There we go, looks like that's working. There's an O-ring in there that you have to break free, and until you get that to break free, the sensor won't come out. Okay, so I can move it back and forth quite easily. That's a good thing. I'm going to very gently tap a screwdriver right at the top here. Now, careful when you do this because you can break that sensor off, and if you do, it'll snap right inside the transmission. This is going to put a little bit of pressure on it so that as I spin it, it's going to want to come out of its mounting hole. Oh, there we go. That popped out. Okay, pry with the screwdriver as you twist and turn. Oh, there it is. Clean the hole that this sensor mounts in, just so you can make sure there's no debris there or corrosion. Then you can take a little bit of oil and put it on that O-ring, slide the sensor all the way in by hand, wiggle it back and forth, and put pressure on it until it pops in. There we go. What you don't want to do is put the bolt in with the sensor not completely installed. That'll put pressure on this tab right here and break it off. Bottom out the bolt. If it's going in with difficulty, that means it's cross-threading. So back it off and try again. If you're able to torque this, the torque is 8.7 foot-pounds or 104 inch-pounds. If not, an eighth of a turn after it bottoms out should be plenty. All right, that's it. Plug it in. Make sure that clicks. Let's get the airbox back in. Carefully slide it into position. Make sure you don't pinch any wires or hoses in the way. All right, that's in. In the back here, line up this line. Make sure the clamp is still on. Push it in and get it onto the throttle body adapter here for the snorkel. Push that line all the way in. Let's clamp on this clamp with the 5.5mm screw. Snug that up. This is very small, so you don't want to over tighten it. Starting to get snug, so I'm just going to give it a little extra and leave it at that. All you need to do is just squish down on the snorkel a little bit, and that's it. Right over here, this needs to fall into place on this rubber bushing. There we go. That's seated. At the front, reinstall this hose that goes over and supplies air to the air filter. No clamp on this, and it even says up right here. That's how you know it's seated correctly. Snug up the two 10mm bolts that hold the airbox in place. This one back there is a little trickier to get to. That's tight. Reinstall the air filter. Make sure that's fully seated so that the seal can seal up around. No dirty air can get in. And then reinstall this cover. Line that up with all the clamps. Clip them on. If the clamps have a hard time going on, that means the top isn't seated, and you'll need to readjust it so that they can actually lock in. Put this mass airflow sensor harness back over, make sure the two tabs click, and then reconnect the mass airflow sensor.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.